Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. No spin analysis of last night's presidential debate. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Please keep in mind, many folks only hear what they want to hear. And that's why most of the post-debate comments last night were a colossal waste of time. Partisans will never see things for what they are. It will always be what satisfies their agenda. So, many opinions on the debate are subject to rooting interest. And to expunge that, you actually have to step back and think, putting aside the small machine attached to your hand. Talking Points has done that, and here is my assessment. Neither candidate broke out last night. The American people did not learn very much because both candidates stuck to what they have said in the past. There were few challenging questions put forth, only general queries, except for the birther and tax return stuff designed to hammer Mr. Trump. Let's begin with demeanor, very important to Donald Trump. At the start, he was credible, speaking about the need to stimulate the private sector so jobs are created.
Under my plan, I'll be reducing taxes tremendously, from 35% to 15% for companies, small and big businesses. That's going to be a job creator like we haven't seen since Ronald Reagan. It's going to be a beautiful thing to watch.
Strong point by Trump, as growth in America right now is awful, and this country needs an economic jolt. But as the debate wore on, Mr. Trump began to get a bit testy.
No, you're telling the enemy everything you want to do.
No, we're not.
See, you're telling the enemy everything you want to do. No wonder you've been fighting. No wonder you've been fighting ISIS your entire adult life.
Now, that emotional response led to a mistake. ISIS has only been around for a few years. That wasn't a big mistake, but it was noted. For her part, Secretary Clinton stuck to the progressive script.
I've heard from so many of you about the difficult choices you face and the stresses that you're under. So let's have paid family leave, earned sick days. Let's be sure we have affordable child care and debt-free college. How are we going to do it? We're going to do it by having the wealthy pay their fair share and close the corporate loopholes.
That fair share line offends many Americans who are not wealthy. Yes, there are some fat cats who dodge taxes, but this cat, the guy who's talking to you right now, pays an enormous amount of money in taxes. And so do millions of other successful Americans. So that fair share myth is beyond annoying. Now, it's quite clear that Mrs. Clinton will govern by expanding the federal government, perhaps even more than President Obama has. As for demeanor, the secretary seems somewhat smug while not speaking. She seems very self-satisfied, a condition that carried over today in North Carolina.
Did anybody see that debate last night? One down, two to go.
To be fair, politicians must show confidence, but it is wise to avoid the gloating factor. One of the most, I should say, interesting parts of the debate was the racial aspect, framed around stop and frisk.
We have to bring back law and order. Now, whether or not in a place like Chicago you do stop and frisk, which worked very well, Mayor Giuliani is here, it worked very well in New York, it brought the crime rate way down.
We do always have to make sure we keep people safe. There are the right ways of doing it, and then there are ways that are ineffective. Stop and frisk was found to be unconstitutional, and in part because it was ineffective.
That's not true. Aggressive police monitoring in high-crime neighborhoods does cut violent crime, especially where guns are used. But stop and frisk also does alienate some law-abiding folks who are subject to intrusion. However, there's no question that permissive local governments run by Democrats have failed dismally in places like Chicago and Baltimore. Mr. Trump missed a big opportunity to ask Mrs. Clinton to repudiate those administrations. Trump also missed chances to pin the secretary down on sanctuary cities, violent protests, disrespect for the anthem, and vouchers to improve poor public school performance by instilling competition. Why Trump did not bring it on those emotional issues is a mystery. So technically, Hillary Clinton won the debate on points because she was able to keep Trump on the defensive. She used 3 effective grenades: his tax returns, the birther issue, and support for the Iraq War. Moderator Lester Holt helped Mrs. Clinton on the birther deal. Trump made the mistake of over-explaining. He should have just shrugged off questions designed to trap him, refocusing on Secretary Clinton's many ethical problems. But Trump felt the need to defend himself, and that hurt him. For example, mentioning someone like Rosie O'Donnell in a presidential debate, never a good thing. If Donald Trump really wants to be president, he must put frivolities aside and concentrate on 3 in-stone realities. First, that the federal government is hurting the poor and working class by punishing the private sector with crazy regulations and high taxation. Second, that Hillary Clinton's acceptance of Barack Obama's ISIS policy allows those savages to continue their terrorism at will. And third, that the Democratic Party's embrace of grievance is pitting Americans against one another, demonizing the police, and creating an environment where the USA is portrayed as oppressive, not the land of opportunity it really is. If Trump would hammer home those 3 themes, he might distinguish himself in a way that would attract voters currently skeptical of him. For her part, Hillary Clinton needs to stop doing this.
You know, he tried to switch from looks to stamina, but this is a man who has called women pigs, slobs, and dogs, and someone who has said pregnancy is an inconvenience to employers.
And those kinds of attacks, personal attacks, diminish the secretary. Trump would have been within fair decorum to respond with facts about the treatment of women when the Clintons were under siege in the White House. The fact that Mr. Trump did not do that last night is to his credit. Finally, Bret Baier had a wise comment today. He said that if polls continue to build for Trump after that debate, the Clinton campaign will be in serious trouble. Already, many online surveys are boosting Trump's debate performance, including those from CBS and Time magazine. But the truth is, both candidates can do much better. And to win the White House, they will have to. That's a memo. It's posted on BillO'Reilly.com. Next on the rundown, Charles Krauthammer will react. Later, Waters getting debate analysis from the folks. Upcoming.
And when I confronted him with the reasons why he won't release his tax returns, and I got to that point where I said, well, maybe he's paid 0, he said that makes him smart. Now, if not paying taxes makes him smart, what does that make all the rest of us?
I was Hillary Clinton speaking today in North Carolina, and the tax return deal did come up last night in the debate big time. Joining us from Washington, Charles Krauthammer. Now, before we get to the specifics of the debate with you, were you surprised that the Time Magazine Snap Poll and the WCBS TV Snap Poll, which is a CBS flagship here in New York, had Trump winning fairly substantially?
Of course not, because they're totally meaningless. These are online polls. These are not random samples. The only thing that means anything, and even the randomly sampled polls have their problems. But the idea that you win because your supporters come out and click on the computer more than others tells you nothing.
All right, let me challenge though for a minute. Let me challenge for a minute.
I guarantee you that if you had a poll on who had the better hair, Trump would get the same 80%.
Okay, but the reason I brought those two, we don't do online polling here at all, but Time Magazine is a very liberal concern, all right? And WCBS is in Manhattan, and Manhattan is way anti-Trump all over the place. So that just caught my attention, that 2 precincts where you would not you would not expect, then, you know, we would expect from Breitbart and those people, but not those 2.
I don't think that makes any difference whatsoever. This is a measure of your enthusiasm and commitment to make a statement on behalf of Trump. And we know just by looking at the size of the crowds, that Trump has the enthusiasm and the semi-empty halls for Hillary that she doesn't. You don't need a poll to tell you that. If you're asking who won the debate, then you've got to have a random sample. There's a reason
and we'll
why
have
the
those
Food and
beginning
Drug
on Wednesday.
Administration demands a random sample in testing a drug, because otherwise you end up with junk. And since health depends on getting the drugs right, we demand random samples. Not much depends on the results of the poll, but you've got to have a scientific standard, or you have nothing. Okay, you got it. That's good.
You're right. Going forward, I think the thing that will hurt Donald Trump the most, and we'll get to Hillary Clinton in a moment, is the tax return deal.
Yes.
Because, you know, it is now becoming apparent that he could release it if he wants. He doesn't want to. And there's a strong likelihood that his federal tax payments are low, so that people who do pay their quote-unquote fair share, whatever they're required to pay, they don't have massive deductions, might hold that against the very wealthy Trump.
I thought that was a real hostage to fortune, and possibly a gaffe that will develop over time.
Yeah.
Look, on the debate itself, the night itself, I thought that at the end the needle did not move, meaning the needle of support for one candidate or the other. I think each established a position. He basically said she represents 30-year status quo. If you like the world the way it is, you vote for her. That's his position. Hers was, I prepared for the debate. I prepared for the presidency. I'm a pro. I'm there. He's an amateur. Each made that case. And because he's the challenger, and he stepped on the stage and he came out alive after 90 minutes, perhaps marginally he wins in a draw. But on the issue, so if the debate had just happened in a vacuum and ended, that would have been it. But it didn't. He left two time bombs. The one is the admission. It was an effective admission. He may deny it later. But he essentially sort of prided himself in having not paid taxes. And the guy is a billionaire. And I think that could be a real issue. He'd been dodging and weaving and not releasing his taxes in order not to show that he might not have paid his taxes.
And the second
yet
one?
He couldn't resist. And the second was the Alicia Machado. The Alicia Machado, the fact that he went after her gratuitously this morning, he didn't have to. He kept that issue alive.
This was the beauty contestant.
The beauty contestant.
I don't think that's going to have legs, but I think the other one will. Now, I got to get to Hillary Clinton, and I'm up against the time clock. We're doing a live program here, as you know.
Okay.
The big deficit going forward for Hillary Clinton is there wasn't one thing that she said that was innovative, that was different from the Obama administration, or that was anything other than what we've heard a million times. It's the same.
I agree. And that's why I thought it was a draw in that sense. She didn't advance her case.
Nothing.
He didn't advance his case. But look, debates are not done on TKO's points, who won the rounds. Debates are decided on
perception.
Overall impression.
Right, perception.
Yeah, and there was no knockout zinger.
That's right.
There was no I knew John Kennedy.
Right.
So in the absence of that, I think it's a question of demeanor. I thought her demeanor was good. She was much more composed than he was. But nonetheless, I don't think the difference was enough to overcome the fact that he's the challenger, and he was on the stage with her.
Fox News poll comes out Friday. Other polls will begin on Wednesday. Charles, thank you as always.
And those, Bill, are real polls.
Directly ahead, Frank Luntz with the best and worst moments from both Clinton and Trump last night. Then later, Waters with the folks on the debate. Upcoming. Campaign 2016 segment tonight, we asked Fox News contributor Frank Luntz to do a focus group last night during the debate. Luntz polled 27 undecided voters in Philadelphia. He joins us now from Los Angeles. So we've got 4 clips. The first one in Hillary Clinton's worst moment. Roll the tape.
Well, I hope the fact checkers are turning up the volume and really working hard. Donald supported the invasion of Iraq.
Wrong.
That is absolutely
wrong.
Proved over and over again.
Wrong.
He actually advocated for the actions we took in Libya and urged that Gaddafi be taken out.
So why was that the worst moment?
More often than not, her criticisms were well received because Donald Trump handled them so badly. But in that case, When she said, hey, let's get the fact checkers involved, they thought that was an ad hominem attack, that she was challenging him without his being able to respond. You could hear him saying wrong several times in the background. And voters just thought that that was an unnecessary political approach, and they thought that she deserved better.
All right. Is it possible that no one cares about whether Donald Trump thought the Iraq war, the run-up, does it? I don't care. I mean, I don't know why anybody would care at this juncture in history. Why? So what?
You're correct, and that's because we want to know what they're going to do in the future.
I mean,
not what they've done in the past, and not what they thought in the past.
I can report this. I know Trump. Trump didn't like that war. He didn't like it. So I can tell you that's firsthand experience. All right, here is Trump's worst moment. Go.
Well, you just opened the next segment.
Well, look, could I just finish? I think I should.
I'm going to give you
go
a
to her
chance right
website,
here. With the
and
new
you take a look at her website.
We're talking about racial healing in this segment. What do you say to Americans?
Well, it was very. I say nothing. I say nothing because I was able to get him to produce it. He should have produced it a long time before.
You had supported the war in Iraq before the invasion. What makes your
I did not support the war in Iraq.
2002.
That is a mainstream media nonsense put out by her.
All right. Now, why did Trump supporters not like that answer? Because he's defending himself.
It's that he's talking over Lester Holt.
Oh,
the fact is, Bill,
they didn't want him to talk over Lester Holt.
You don't. This is the cardinal rule of debates. There are two rules. Number one, do not trip when you arrive. And number two, do not talk over the moderator.
Wow.
And Trump did it 3 times, and every time he did it, you could hear exasperation among the participants because they just found Trump rude. Someone needs to explain to him in debate prep, don't do this.
Okay, I think he'll probably hear about this tonight. Now, here is Hillary Clinton's best moment. Roll.
Donald has consistently insulted Muslims abroad, Muslims at home, when we need to be cooperating with Muslim nations and with the American Muslim community. They're on the front lines. They can provide information to us that we might not get anywhere else. They need to have close working cooperation with law enforcement in these communities, not be alienated and pushed away, as some of Donald's rhetoric, unfortunately, has led to.
All right, so that's common sense. And by the way, they're all undecided, but some lean to Hillary and some lean to Trump, and that's why you have the different color lines. So that's basically a common sense play.
But it's more than that. She's talking about working together at a time when Trump is, quite frankly, being very explicit about what his position is on Muslim Americans. And I want to point out, Bill, we've added that yellow line, that truly hardcore undecided, so that viewers can see what those slightly Trump, slightly Clinton, and undecided feel. That was the one moment when all 3 lines were over a 70. That's why that was the highest moment of the debate for her.
All right, and for Donald Trump, here's the highest moment. Go.
We buy products for our military, and they come in at costs that are so far above what they were supposed to be because we don't have people that know what they're doing. When we look at the budget is bad to a large extent because we have people that have no idea as to what to do and how to buy. The Trump International is way under budget and way ahead of schedule, and we should be able to do that for our country.
All right, he's talking about his hotel in Washington, D.C. Okay, so fiscal responsibility, Americans want that. Is that what that was all about?
It's even deeper. The number one issue isn't tax cuts, Bill. It's ending wasteful Washington spending. And what Trump is saying is that his businesses could do it. Apply those principles to Washington, D.C., and Americans would save billions, if not trillions of dollars if they would simply spend wisely, efficiently, and effectively.
Okay, so that's
Donald
the
Trump
attractive
needs
message.
to understand. If Trump focuses on ending wasteful spending, on creating a forensic audit of the federal government, I promise you, Bill, he would win this debate.
Wow.
I don't understand why he doesn't do it. That's what the American people want, and she can never promise it. She can't do it.
Finally, of the 27 people who watched the debate, did you canvass them about, did they change their minds? What was their overall impression?
Yes, we had 60 people who thought that Hillary won, 6 people who thought that Trump won, and 5 said that it was a tie. Overall, they were disappointed. A few people moved towards Hillary. A few people changed their votes. But they're going to watch the second and third debates. We're still going to get these 70, 75 million people paying attention. Bill, it's a very small segment that's going to determine the winner of the next election, and they still are open to being convinced.
All right, Frank, we appreciate it, and we're going to have Frank back. Both the debates upcoming, he'll do the same thing now that we understand it. Plenty more ahead as the factor moves along this evening. Bernie Goldberg will analyze the job moderator Lester Holt did last night. He's getting some heat, Mr. Holt is. And later, water sampling opinion from the folks.
Don't you think it's important to watch the debate if you're going to vote?
I think it's very important to watch the debate.
Are you going to vote in November?
Yes. I'm going to vote for Donald.
But you didn't see the debate?
No.
We hope you stay tuned for those reports.
For 5 years, you perpetuated a false claim that the nation's first black president was not a natural-born citizen. You questioned his legitimacy. In the last couple of weeks, you acknowledged what most Americans have accepted for years. The president was born in the United States. Can you tell us what took you so long?
In the personal story segment tonight, how did the moderator, NBC News anchorman Lester Holt, do last night? Join us from North Carolina, Bernie Goldberg. And you say?
Well, first I say, I'm not going to get into Lester Holt's motives. I'm not a mind reader. I'm only going to talk about what you saw, what I saw, what everybody saw. Number one, he asked Donald Trump some inconvenient, hard questions. You referred to them earlier about the birther issue, about the tax returns. These are issues that don't make Donald Trump look especially good. They're legitimate. No problem. The problem is he didn't ask Hillary Clinton as many inconvenient questions. There was nothing on the Clinton Foundation, nothing on Benghazi, nothing on immigration, nothing on her comment about deplorables in a basket. One question that would have been fantastic is if he had asked her, what's your position, Mrs. Clinton, on late-term abortion? Nothing on that. He interrupted Donald Trump more than he interrupted Hillary Clinton. He challenged him more. He fact-checked him more. I don't know if this is because Lester Holt, like almost everybody else in the mainstream media, lives in a comfortable liberal elite bubble, or if it was something else. But he did go easier on Hillary Clinton than he did on Donald Trump.
I can't dispute what you just said. I was waiting for the ethical question to the secretary. See, all you would have to do is say, Madam Secretary, do you understand why many Americans aren't supporting you because of the continuation of these ethical problems that you've had since Whitewater? And they just one after the other after the other. Is it all a right-wing conspiracy? That's all he would have had to have done. And that's a legitimate question that I was waiting for, but obviously he didn't do it.
Right. A media writer for the Washington Post offered up a suggestion, a possibility for why he didn't do a lot of things in his questioning. Let me just read you one sentence. He said that Lester Holt, quote, seemed to be mindful that pushing Clinton too hard might be interpreted as badgering and sexist by her supporters. I don't know if Lester Holt was thinking that.
I don't think so.
But if he was, he shouldn't have been. And I'm not even sure how that comes into a story on the moderator. I mean, we don't know what he was thinking.
No, nobody knows what he was thinking. But if you're a moderator,
he shouldn't have been.
And here's a message to the other three that are coming, the three moderators. You have to write down, okay, tough questions for Trump, tough questions for Hillary, and make sure they're balanced on a sheet of paper. All right? That's what you do. Now,
I told you last week it was easy to be fair, and it turns out it didn't come out that way.
No.
But it is easy to be fair. Just do what you said.
That's right. Now, we have 45 seconds, and I know you want to talk about Howard Dean, who we have no respect for here, just so the audience knows. His tweet. Go.
Politics can be ugly. We all know that. But what Howard Dean did last night was beyond despicable. You may have noticed, people at home, you may have noticed that Donald Trump was sniffling a lot. Howard Dean tweeted this. These are his exact words. Notice Trump sniffing all the time, coke user. If my message to every TV executive in America is that Howard Dean should be banned for at least a year, and if I were in charge, he'd be banned for life. Everybody's always asking Donald Trump to account for his supporters who crossed the line. I don't know if Hillary Clinton was asked about this, but if she wasn't, she needs to be asked to account for this particular deplorable in a basket.
But he's, you know him, he's got a history of being really out there. It
still is worse than anything I've ever heard.
Can't argue with that either. Bernie Goldberg, everybody, when we come right back. Lisa Booth, Juan Williams, Jesse Waters. Moments away.
In fact, Donald was one of the people who rooted for the housing crisis. He said back in 2006, gee, I hope it does collapse because then I can go in and buy some and make some money. Well, it did collapse.
Typical politician, all talk, no action, sounds good, doesn't work, never going to happen. Our country is suffering because people like Secretary Clinton have made such bad decisions in terms of our jobs and in terms of what's going on.
Continue now with our debate analysis. With us here in New York City, Juan Williams and Lisa Booth. Lisa, we're going to be with you today. Talking points memo, fair?
I do think it's fair. I believe that the debate was ultimately a draw because I don't think either candidate did anything to significantly reshape or change the trajectory of their campaigns and the trajectory they're currently on.
Wait, so you don't think then Wednesday when the new polling comes out, after the debate polling, you don't think that Hillary Clinton's going to rise in the polls a little bit?
I don't think it's going to be significant if it is. I mean, ultimately, all that matters is what the 15 to 18% of undecided voters right now believe. But no, I don't.
For a month, Trump has rocketed in the national and state polling, so much so that he's tied in Colorado, almost tied in Pennsylvania. Wisconsin's in play. States that never go Republican.
But you know what would potentially keep those states in play? Because what he did last night was hit her hard on trade. He reached out to disaffected voters.
I got that. But your prediction
as an out-of-touch elitist.
Your prediction is that the polling for Hillary Clinton may go up, but not significantly.
I don't think it's going to be. I don't think either candidate did enough to significantly change the trajectory. Right.
What do you think on the polling?
I think the polling will bump up for Hillary Clinton, and
a lot, or
not a lot, but significant because there's not that much at play.
Right, then let me ask you this: then the online polling, and Krathammer, doesn't believe it and has any worthiness, but in Time and WCBS have Trump winning fairly significantly.
Yeah, but those are online polls, and people just click away. Let me just say what I think, which is that the millennials, the Bernie Sanders people, a lot of the Gary Johnson libertarian-type voters, those are people that, weren't quite there for Hillary. She's speaking to them last night.
But what did she say to them?
Well, especially women. When she got into the business about Miss Universe and, she's overweight, and Trump comes back this morning on Fox and Friends and doubles down on that, that doesn't help
You think that...
Secondly...
Wait. Okay. With all the problems this country has, ISIS, the economy, the division among Americans, they care about a Miss America.
You are a serious person, but I just tell you.
I don't care about that.
Well, I just tell you, women are a huge part of those independents, white, suburban, Republican women.
Here.
Yeah, we love
and I'm millennial, so
Go ahead.
But she did nothing to reach out to millennials last night because the reason millennials don't like her is because Hillary Clinton is inauthentic. And what did she do last night? She spoke like a politician, and Donald Trump was right to hold her accountable on that. You've got 55% of the country right now that wants to see big changes in terms of the economy and in terms of politics as well. And Donald Trump was the only change agent on the debate stage last night. He did do a lot of damage to himself as well.
There's no doubt that Trump is a change guy and Hillary Clinton is the status quo person. But I didn't see anything inauthentic about Secretary Clinton's performance last night. I didn't see anything. She was the way she always is.
Right, but that's why millennials don't like her.
Okay, wait. She was fairly authoritative in her delivery. She was smug. Mm-hmm. All right, you'd admit that, right?
We saw the shimmy that she did.
Well, I like the shimmy, but I like any kind of personality that this woman's not a robot. Robots don't shimmy, all right? But
in the future they will.
But I saw the Hillary Clinton that I've seen for decades. I didn't see any difference there.
I didn't see it
inauthentic. I mean, that's who she is.
Millennials haven't embraced her, and they're not going to embrace her after last night because exactly what I said when we started this segment is she didn't do anything to significantly change the trajectory of the race.
Let me argue with you on that point.
30 seconds.
She did something. She talked about student debt, their #1 issue. She talked about Trump, and she actually called the man is guilty of racist behavior on the birther thing, and she had him on his heels throughout on that birther issue.
Which isn't a top issue that the majority of Americans care about.
No, you're talking about millennials.
Yeah,
they are
sure
very into social justice. And the final point I would make to you is when you saw her attack on Trump as a businessman, because that's supposed to be why he's running for president, he can make us rich like he's made himself rich. She said, you know what, this guy's a plutocrat. He got big loans from his dad, and he says he's smarter than us.
And she's an out-of-touch elitist politician who has no idea what real Americans are facing in this country.
Ooh. Ooh, the shimmy.
We need a shimmy. It was the
shimmy. All right, thank you very much. Water is on deck. Thank God, water. It's the first time I'm ever thanking God for water. He's with the folks. They have plenty to say. Up next. Back in the book segment tonight, Water's World, as we mentioned in the Talking Points memo, the snap polls after the debate almost all favored Donald Trump. Today, Waters roamed the streets of Manhattan to see what the folks thought.
Preparing for the interview?
Yeah. Water's World homework.
Right here?
Right here.
0.2.
Hello. Did you watch the debate at all?
No, I was drinking margaritas.
What did you do last night instead of watch the debate?
Oh, last night I got really tired. Me and my friends were hanging out and we had a fight and I went to sleep.
Brilliant. For shizzle dizzle.
It was on at 9. I fell asleep. Too much of the no. Just some of the other stuff?
That's right. Is that a joint, man?
Do you know where the debate was?
Miami.
Long Island.
Hawaii.
Who won last night?
Not Hillary Clinton.
Trump. Killed it.
Oh, Donald Trump.
Who won last night?
Hillary.
She beat the out of Donald Trump. It's like a boxing match, right? Hillary hit him with a 1-2. Bing, bing.
Tell me why you think Hillary won.
She seemed a little more confident. Whenever she would speak, Donald would kind of steal some of her ideas and repeat them. It would have been nice to see him kind of go off of his own opinions.
He chumps everyone up. He just shuts everyone's mouth up. He's like, yeah, whatever.
Are you going to vote in November?
I'm going to vote for Donald.
Really?
I didn't see that one coming, no.
How do you think Lester Holt moderated?
I think he was good about time management.
I think he interjected a lot on Trump. I think he was softer on Hillary.
He didn't bring up Benghazi. He didn't bring up the Clinton Foundation. He didn't bring up any of her lies.
Last night in the debate, Hillary didn't, stop and frisk.
She just went on. She ain't stop and frisk. She did what she had to do.
I don't know what that means.
Have you ever been stopped and frisked?
All the time. I got off the train and got right there, and I had a knife on me, but it was a brand new knife from the store.
You don't have a knife on you now, right?
No, I don't have a knife on me now.
Just checking.
That's a knife.
You don't care if people pat you down?
They're gonna do what they're gonna do.
Do you think we should stop and frisk Trump?
Yes, everything. He's packing everything. That's why the ISIS is here.
Trump and Hillary battled over ISIS.
It was nice to see her actually say ISIS.
What's the most important issue facing you in America?
I don't have any problems.
You don't look so good.
Donald Trump said Hillary's been in public life for 30 years. All of a sudden, she's looking for solutions?
I agreed with that statement 100%.
Trump says he's not going to release his tax returns unless Hillary releases her 30,000 deleted emails.
That's a good idea. We're trying to figure out what's in her emails, and she's deleting it.
Do you delete your emails?
Yeah, immediately.
Oh, hell no.
Whose world is it?
Trump's world.
Do you know who I am?
Jesse Waters.
I don't even have to do this.
And this is your world.
You beat me to it.
All right, here's Waters. What percentage of people you speak to do you consider in some form of inebriation?
Including me?
Let's put you aside for a moment. We'll drug test you right after the show. But
I would say in Port Authority, maybe 10 to 15%.
All right, so 10 to 15%.
Yes.
But that doesn't stop you, does it? No.
That encourages me.
You're right. You might even encourage the guy with the clown nose. Was there a reason for him wearing that?
I'm going to go with drugs.
I mean, was he involved in any circus activity that you could see?
He hit me with a squirt gun after the interview.
Right. And this is a Yale graduate, you know, right?
Yes.
And this guy, he ought to have his own show.
Yes.
That guy.
Yeah, we're going to put him at 4 o'clock.
In fact, you don't know this, but even after you left, he continued. Right?
Yeah, the cameras weren't even there.
New York City, I mean, the best SOT sound on tape in the world. Waters, everybody, there he is. Factor tip of the day, James Taylor and the Factor. The tip, moments away. Factor tip of the day, James Taylor confronted by the O'Reilly Factor in a moment. But first, over the weekend, I signed 2,000 copies of Killing the Rising Sun. My hand hates me. The reason I do that is because thousands of folks want signed copies of the book. And if you order it on BillO'Reilly.com, all the money I get from those orders, from selling those signed copies, goes to charity. So let's do the math. You get a good gift. Charities get some needed help, and I have cramps in my hands. Everybody happy with that? By the way, if you become a BillO'Reilly.com premium member, you get a free copy of the Killing the Rising Sun, plus a free copy of the Constitution or any of my other books, your choice. Nice deal. Constitution comes with the book. You get them both. Now the mail. Bob Cortal, Oxford, Florida. O'Reilly, I'm surprised and disappointed by Mr. Trump's lack of preparation and discipline last night's debate. Does he not know that many of us are counting on him? Mr. Trump was prepared, I thought. I didn't see any deficit in his point of view. Discipline, yeah, okay. But he's, still a neophyte in these things. And I think discipline's a problem for both candidates. Al Bates, Plymouth, California. The moderator failed miserably last night. Why did they have questions and spend so much time on Obama's birth certificate? Because the media loves that story, Al. Does the birther situation affect your life? No. Lester Holt thought the situation important. Frank Leonard, Lexington, North Carolina. What wins? The Hillary eyeball roll or the Trump grimace? It's a draw, Frank. Paul Sabatino, Florence, Alabama. If Mr. Trump does not come out of the next two debates with big wins, he will lose the election. Not so sure, Paul. As we reported in the Talking Points memo, the polling, that's going to really tell a tale toward the end of this week, all right? And we'll see what the scientific polling says later on. That'll be it. But there could be comebacks. Remember, the president lost the first debate to Mitt Romney last time around. Greg Lamaki, River Forest, Illinois. 10 minutes into the debate, I tuned out, went back to reading Killing the Rising Sun. I think I made the right decision. Barbara Slimp, Cleburne, Texas. Just finished Killing the Rising Sun. Better than any history lesson I ever had. You know your business, Bill, and make it easy to read history. I really appreciate you reading the book. Thank you. And finally, tonight's factor tip of the day. This from the Boston Globe. Headline, James Taylor, no fan of Fox News, asked to change the channel. According to the report, Taylor and his wife were in the American Airlines lounge at Logan Airport, where all the TVs were tuned to Fox. Kim Taylor then approached the bartender and asked if the channel could be changed, whereupon the bartender told her, quote, "This is the O'Reilly corner, honey." Yeah. Well, the Taylors were not happy. One footnote, I've seen James Taylor be very nice to his fans. Eyewitness report, I saw it. All right, factor tip of the day. And we thank that bartender. If I knew who you were, I'd send you a signed copy of Killing Rising Sun. That is it for us tonight. Please check out the Fox News Factor website, different from BillO'Reilly.com. Also, I would like you to spout all about Factor from anywhere in the world. O'Reilly at FoxNews.com, O'Reilly at FoxNews.com. Name and town if you wish to opine. Word of the day, no gasconading when writing to the Factor. Now, tomorrow we have an investigation for you, which is important. The head of the FBI, Comey, going to be testifying in front of a House committee about why he granted immunity to some of Hillary Clinton's top aides. And why would you do that, okay, if there's no crime, okay? So we're going to have the inside story on it. It's an important story on The Factor tomorrow night. Please don't miss it. Again, thanks for watching us tonight. I am Bill O'Reilly. Please always remember that the spin stops right here. So we're definitely looking out for you.